Yeah, so Leslie, I think we'll start with you, and I wondered if you could provide an overview of why we have launched this campaign.
Okay, so I think we are probably aware that currently, due to lack of any regulation or registration in the UK, that anyone can go out there and set up a seemingly professional, legitimate business in the beauty sector. So we, along with BABTAC, we did a survey in 2019, and then it was followed up with BABTAC Trust at 2021, just to really try and ascertain who knew what out there from the consumer level. Did you know that our industry is not regulated? Did you know that your therapist doesn't need to be qualified? They don't need to be insured from a legal perspective? At both surveys, more than 50% of people did not know that we weren't regulated, and about 20-25% didn't actually, had no idea. You know, 50% thought we were regulated, and about 20% had no idea that we weren't either. So that is quite a scary statistic that's out there. I was a working therapist for over 30 years, and never once did a client ask me if I was qualified. I must have been so good that they didn't do it, but no, I'm kidding. But no, it was a really scary fact. And when we started to look into it, I actually started to say to my clients, do you not wonder if I'm qualified? Well, we just think you are. And that's what brings out one of my favourite sayings: all that glitters is not gold. Certificates can be hanging on the wall, but it doesn't mean to say that we've got somebody with qualifications there. I think that the kind of staggering statistics out there do highlight the need for consumers to be a bit more educated, and for them to maybe be informed and provided with the necessary tools that they need in order for them to feel confident to go in and find out when they go to salons.
Yeah, agreed. And obviously this has been a very tough time. The last few years have been a very tough time for this industry in particular. So why is now the right time, do you feel, that we are launching this campaign?
Okay, so some people may say, oh goodness, is this the right time when we're just come out of the pandemic and, you know, we're bringing this to people's mind, etc. And that's why we think, and I think collectively we all think on this panel as well, this is exactly the right time to be doing it. Number one, to inform the consumer that, you know, on how to do just what I've just previously said, to really make awareness out there that there at the moment is no regulation, there is no need for insurance, there is no need to do regulated qualifications. You can go and do a half-day course and go out and start working in a salon and pass yourself off as a professional beauty therapist. So it's really, really important for us to educate the consumer in, you know, that this is the case. But I think secondly, and I think probably for me one of the most important aspects, is for us to really highlight the amazing talent we've got in our industry, because, and I think, you know, during lockdown we were fighting with it, Millie, I know when we were on the calls to government and professional. Well. Yeah, we absolutely have, and we are so professional. What we've got to do to complete a regulated qualification, to be fit for purpose, you know, to do the right thing is a lot of work. So you can understand why people want to take the shortcut, but not. We've got to get away from that though, because we've got to make. No, but I mean just without, you know.
No, I'm just going to add something just to the thing. So obviously, sorry.
I told you. I told you.
I was just thinking, like, post-Brexit, post-COVID, we've got a recruitment crisis. This is a really good time for us to start as we mean to go on and make sure that we're professionalising and making sure that our industry is considered a skilled workforce.
Yeah. Because that's what we had. We didn't
the
have
sooner
that.
the better.
People kind of looked down on us, and I think from higher levels as well, and thought the beauty industry was it. And that's what we fought for during the pandemic, to get us recognised, to make it that we were legitimate, that we are. Your survey 2019, 28.5 billion. The beauty sector brings in, our hair and beauty sector brings into the UK economy. We're a massive contributor to, you know, the purse strings, etc. So I think it's really, really important that, you know, we are really shining a light on us, not only saying, is your therapist qualified, but shining a light on those who are, those who do the right thing, who buy from reputable suppliers, who have got insurance, who do the proper qualifications. So for me, that's why we wanted to do it.
Right, now Caroline, I know as an experienced and highly qualified icon already in the industry, and having founded BABTAC to assist salons hardest hit during COVID, I know you had you saw a lot of people coming through the doors needing stuff, and I wondered what your assessment of the level of professionalism was and the training that is out there currently.
We kind of had a mixed bag, and Leslie knows I had some reservations about anything that makes us look even vaguely negative. You know, anything that makes us look like we're not already doing the work, or anything that makes us look like we're predominantly not qualified. Or I'm the kind of defensive big sister that really gets arsy. I'm surprised I've let in the building, to be honest, at this point. You laugh.
I did come in disguise, to be fair.
I did have my hood up. With BABTAC, we had a lot of people who were qualified level 3 and above, and a lot of the people that needed help were people who had set up individually, and either working remotely, working in people's homes or in their home in rooms they converted and things like that. We didn't have as many big spa or obviously big companies coming to us, because obviously you're already established and you're set up and you can furlough and all that kind of thing. So we really were, I felt, at taking care of the people who were a very valuable member of our community, but didn't have the support maybe or the corporate structure that so many of us don't fit into, but it doesn't mean they're not qualified. So yes, now since then with the grant program, we have quite a few people coming in who aren't qualified to a standard that we would feel comfortable, because obviously if we give you a grant, it's almost like we're endorsing you. And so we have to frequently, and it's usually this one, that has to have the conversation, well actually you've been misled, this qualification isn't to a certain standard, you won't get the insurance that you need. But we don't just go away, we then try and help them but you could do this course is new, and sometimes we'll pay for the course and things like that. So my reservation is always, I don't want to scaremonger the consumer, but we're absolutely in a position where that's happening because there's no legislation to speak of.
Yeah, so I think it is twofold, as you say. Obviously, you are helping people. As you say, we're helping the pool of people that are working, and a lot of those are qualified to the highest degree. But obviously, in certain cases, they're up against people who aren't. And those that aren't, some of them don't even know they aren't, and you are helping them to get to where they need to be.
I think as well, from a training perspective as well, obviously our sister company being an awarding organisation as well, we are all for standards and fit for purpose qualifications out there, and we always want to support people that are doing fit for purpose qualifications.
Yeah.
So whether that is BABTAC, BTCT, ITEC, Sitting Guilds, whatever one is there, we support any one of those, because a lot of people go to training courses, they pay a lot of money, they say, yeah, I've got a level 3 and a level 4. Honestly, toilet paper is worth more than some of these certificates, sorry to say it, but they're an attendance certificate, they're not a regulated qualification, so it's just getting the awareness out there as well of what people need to be looking for.
Yes, we are going to cover that a little bit later as well. So Caroline, just I know with the survey that you did, 90% of consumers in that survey, and the one that we did as well, said that they would be very uncomfortable asking some of these questions to their therapists. And I wondered if you had any advice on how they should be or how they could be asking those questions.
It could be being more British, seriously. When you're in New York, it's plastered all over the wall, the certification, the licensing that everyone has. My girlfriend, Joanna Vargas, was in town yesterday, and she has a huge clinic on Fifth Avenue, and she has like 26 therapists, and she doesn't need anything up in her, like on her walls, because they're just covered with their names, and then the license, and then the insurance. You need everything. I mean, they're completely the other way.
Yeah.
So it is a very British thing, and it's also a generational thing. I think, I know plenty of, again, American women and customers who wouldn't even, they would think, why are you, of course you're going to ask, they're going to put a machine on you, they're going to laser, things like that. I think it helps. I've always said to people, if you're not sure, ask when you ring up, because then you don't have to say it to their face. Ask when you ring up, what qualifications does this person have? Who are you insured with? Or what insurance do you have? Because a lot of the time, they won't, if they're speaking to a receptionist, they may not know. So it's kind of making sure that your people know exactly what, so you can answer questions, if people phone up. But we just have to be less British about it.
Yeah.
Less, I don't want to upset anyone. If someone's going to hover over me with a laser, I would like to know who taught them how to use it.
Yeah. Well, I do believe someone like the Generation Z, they're informed, and if we get them to know these type of things, they would be the type of generation who would be asking these questions.
You'd be surprised though. My daughter went for a spray tan and came back, and you know the smell of a sunbed. She came into the bedroom, and I went on my neck. I think I got whiplash, and I just went, "You had a sunbed," and I think she thinks I'm actually a witch. We all know that smell, and I went, "You were having a spray tan?" "Oh no, they said I could, and it's fine, and it was quicker." She was 15 at the time. And she went, "Mum, don't do anything." I went, "Where did you go?" I've learned to speak. "Where did you go?" Someone else called, right? And I'm like, "Hello." And I said, "You shouldn't really have gone for a spray tan." But she said, I'm having a spray tan. And I said, "Well, you're supposed to, you're 15. Then when she came back smelling the sunbed, I lost my mind. So it's things like that. She wouldn't have thought to ask.
No.
She wouldn't have thought to say, "Am I allowed to have a?" She's a 15-year-old
And actually,
idiot.
as 15, we know that our BABTAC membership wouldn't be covered by that because
No.
you need to have a parent's permission at that age. So.
And then she walked in, I was just like,
It's not very flash.
I think that's where this sort of collaboration comes in, because I think that if the media, the consumers and professionals and everyone's working together, it's as likely to to slip through, and that's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're always going to get a few rogues, but
And it's going to
if
get
we're
easier.
working together, then it makes it a lot
the more-
harder for them to get
and it
past.
is, and if that awareness is there for people to feel comfortable to go and do it, it just makes it the norm then going forward if we're all doing it.
Yeah, but I don't actually think it's the responsibility of the consumer alone.
No.
I think as a therapist, I know for me for sure, if you have spent thousands of pounds getting trained, and it's hard work actually being trained, and you should shout about it. I remember when I got one of my first qualifications, and I was all over social. Look at me! Look at my certificate.
prestige, you just show how young you are. Social didn't exist when someone. I called my mum.
Well, you've got to, because if we're saying, we can be very British and, as a consumer, you're not going to want to ask, I think a good therapist should make life slightly easier for their client by already, as they walk through that door, or whether it be on their website or wherever, already say, "Look at my qualification, I've got this, I've got that." Yes, of course, you don't need to do the DJ version, but you can make it known that you've got this qualification. And take people on your journey. When clients come in, they're lying on the couch, "What are you up to?" "I'm studying this new qualification, studying that new qualification." It's up to us as therapists as well, as good ones, to really fly that flag for our industry as well, not just the consumer who hasn't got a clue what sort of qualifications we should be having anyway.
No.
We've got to meet them halfway.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
right. It's twofold. It's completely twofold. One is the consumer, and secondly, it does come down to the therapist. And Deja, while we're chatting to you, then, as a respected skincare expert and advanced therapist yourself, what is your view on the rapidly evolving world of advanced aesthetics and the impact it has on our industry?
I mean, I think it's always changing. It's always moving. Everything changes quarterly. There's updates all the time, and the providers we have in terms of training and devices, my inbox is constantly full of this next training date, this new machine has been updated. A lot of companies have business development managers that go out and meet you as a practitioner. This new product, this new technology. So it's constantly changing, and I do think that the impact is, especially because we've had COVID, a lot of people haven't necessarily kept up. If you haven't got the money to fund your training, then you're not necessarily going to keep up, because some of it does cost. But there's lots and lots of free ways in which you can stay up to date as a therapist, whether that's subscribing to journals, whether that's talking to more senior colleagues and trying to glean more information. So it's always changing, and the impact is that we must always keep up.
Yeah. And obviously that is one of the areas where regulation also needs to keep up, and that is
Regulation has to keep up, and if there is regulation, then it forces the therapist to also keep up. So there's a bit of what's the word? I don't know the English word, but there's a
What is
there's
it
a
in
thing.
another language?
You know,
I'm not
you've
sure
got
I
to.
know.
It forces you to keep up because there's a penalty, perhaps,
Yeah,
or English is not always my first language. So there must be like a penalty if you don't keep up with the regulations.
And I know in your book, the Black Skin Directory, you carried out extensive research in scientific diverse skin types, and you also make reference to a lack of clinical trials and training or treatments across all skin types. What advice do you give consumers when they are choosing where to go for their treatments, especially of diverse skin?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, there isn't universal testing on all skin types in clinical trials. Now, it's getting better for sure. We're not in the dark ages, but not every single brand does it. And I remember years ago, I'd go to all the conferences and I'd sit at the front, and and there's someone in here who knows that. And I'd sit at the front, and the brand will speak, and I'll go, yeah, and what about black skin? What have you done about black skin? And I'd be that annoying person at the front. And so there isn't universal, but people are getting better. So I would say that the sort of the questions you need to be asking as a consumer, you know, what experience do you have? How do you keep your experience up to date? When did you qualify? You could have qualified, I don't know, in 1973, but we're now in 2023 and things have changed, as we say.
Not indeed, Christ.
I'm not talking about you know. But you know, and who have you done most of your training in terms of what is the diversity of clientele that you have worked on and have experience on? Do you have befores and afters? I think a really important question that we should always be asking as well is about complications. You know, do you have things gone wrong? And a good practitioner will be able to say, yes, things have gone wrong in my practice before. And what have you done about that? Especially if that gone wrong has been on a darker skin tone. Say you've lasered someone and it's burned or something, because on a darker skin tone, you're going to come up with a hyperpigmentation patch straight away. You know, what have they done? And even on lighter skin tone, you get these sorts of complications as well. Do you have a referral network? Like for me, I'm not a doctor. So if someone comes in and I'm like, I'm not quite sure about this, or that treatment maybe didn't go the way I wanted, then I have a referral network. I know dermatologists, I know aesthetic doctors who I can refer clients onto. So I think that there's a whole cohort of questions you need to ask to get yourself comfortable. My bottom line I say to consumers is you've only got one face. So you do have a certain level of responsibility to make sure you ask those questions. And a good practitioner is willing to give you all of this information. If they are hesitant, they don't want to give you that information, pick up your bag and start going, because there'll be someone else down the road who can do a much better job.
Yeah. But you have choice, don't you?
Yeah, you have choice.
Yeah.
But I think, I just think that the choice thing is also interesting because I've experienced it myself. My mum has lupus and was told quite frankly by doctor friends, I might do Botox when she's 75, you know, she has the normal concerns of a 75-year-old, but she has lupus and she's on warfarin, so she would bleed and all these complications. She calls me and she says, and this is one who's in the industry, I thought fairly intelligent, bless her. She calls me and she says, oh, love, I found someone who'll do the Botox for me, and I'm driving the car like, don't crash. Where? Oh, my lovely nurse from da-da-da-da-da. And what, your medical nurse? Yeah, she said she'll come to the house. And I was just, I mean, you can imagine, but that's what's a poor consumer supposed to do when they're faced with someone who is medical, and I know that's rare.
But people have to know their limits as therapists and practitioners. And when I say that, even as medical doctors, aesthetic doctors, whatever, you know, you have to know your limits. You have to know when to refer on, so that you don't want to be the person calling up your insurance company about, hey, I did this, I wasn't quite sure I was supposed to do it, and all of that.
And it gathers trust.
Yeah. So for me, in the consultation, one of the first things I say when we do housekeeping, you sit down and say, well, this is the housekeeping before we actually go into the consultation. If there is anything I don't know, or a device that I don't have, that I feel another colleague in my industry is better able to help you with, I will personally connect you to that colleague.
Yeah.
Because, and I think once you say that to a consumer, they're like, you know, she's all right, she's safe.
I think it's all part of the evidence, which is one of the letters in the time. It's evidence, and as you say, both being open and honest, and good professionals will be open and honest, and you would refer someone to someone else or say that I'm not comfortable doing that if you weren't. And I think once again that's exactly why choosing ethical well qualified therapists is the way to go, because you would ask those questions and you would do a thorough analysis of them before you even did any work on them, and that's also part of it, is monitoring. That's another one. I think, Millie, given your background in PE as well as being a highly respected
PR, maybe.
Did I say Physical education. I knew that. PR, as well as being a highly respected industry leader, what role do you believe that media and industry leaders can play in really increasing consumer awareness on these issues?
I mean, again, I'm going to say work together. I think during COVID, we realised that like-minded organisations and industry professionals like to stick together.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to raise the reputation of the industry. It's a really viable, valuable career. We've got something really amazing to offer the nation, both in terms of our economic contribution, our social contribution, and the services that we provide and how they make people feel. I think with the media, one of the things that I did notice, and again, this goes back to sort of COVID, was misinformation sucks. Oh, sorry, stinks. It's, we do not want the media giving wrong information to the consumer. We want you giving the right information to the consumer. Facts really do count. And I think that's the most important thing. One of the things that Leslie and I worked very closely on during COVID was making sure that when we did give you information, we gave you the right information as fast as we possibly could. We did all the fact checking.
We did the same information as well, which was good.
Yeah, we did the same information because we knew that it was very, very difficult to find the right information at the right time. So I think that where the media will come in really in terms of time, I think it's very important, is giving the right information to the consumer, making sure it's factual, making sure you get it out to as many people as possible, allowing the consumer to make decisions that are the correct decisions to make. And I think that's sort of, I think that's where we're very lucky as an industry, because we've got some amazing media cohorts that can really help to sort of get this information out there. I don't think that the average consumer knows that we're not a regulated industry.
No.
And so I don't think they ask that question. I know when I started the British Beauty Council, I went to get my nails done. I've gone to the same place for years, and on the wall was a certification that looked like a certification, but clearly it wasn't a proper certification.
It's not old.
Yeah, it was from like 2000 and not even 2000, it was like 1994 or something. And it was the first time I actually looked, because I've been in there for years, I've never even bothered to look on the wall. So I think it's actually quite good practice for all of us to do that. So every time we book something, and God knows I've booked loads of stuff, to look on the wall, to ask the question, to get into the practice, because if we do it, then I think that we can get the consumers to do it, and they'll understand that this is common knowledge, this is what we do, and it's what we should do.
And I think what is great as well, a lot of the suppliers now have come on board, and they're not selling their products to therapists that have not got regulated qualifications. So for us, that's just such a big step forward as well, that from even that level, that it's just not available. The kind of high-branded brands are not available for people there, so it does encourage people to go for
When we first started, I spoke to David, and David Sines was the person that told me the different levels and what each level does. I had to literally look it up. I mean, it was, I couldn't find much on it, and not enough. Certainly he's a genius out there. Yeah. But I had to ask the question, because I didn't know. I had no idea. I've never done that qualification myself. And so I think it's really important to understand what the different levels, what you can do at a different level of qualification. Because that, to me, is for media, it's really important that you understand that.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the other issues, is that you can use the word levels or qualification even if it isn't, which I think we're going to get onto in a little bit as well. So that you can use those.
No idea.
It's not regulated to be able to use those, so that is another problem. And Lily, how do we encourage our therapists to promote themselves? I know we've talked about this. I mean, people in this room, amazing therapists, amazing people. How best can they just promote themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact is that naturally, as we professionalise our industry, as we become more regulated, and we will, there's a lot of work being done on legislation, and sort of moving towards a more regulated industry. We'll become more professional. We will become more trusted. We can probably charge higher prices because the qualifications will have more meaning in that regard. So I think that it all moves in the right direction. So I'm not saying, hey, leave it with us, help us to get there. But I think that I would be very proud of a more professionalized, more regulated industry, because I think it gives us the credibility that we've always strived for. We are not the stupid people in the room that couldn't do anything else. It's not fun and frivolous, and it's the fluffy stuff girls play with. This is a serious industry with skilled workforce, and we want to be taken seriously, so we need to professionalise. It might take us a little bit of extra work, but so be it. If we can charge a bit more money, I think that sounds good.
And you should be able to.
And should be able to.
Yeah.
We should be able to.
Okay, you're right. Candice, I'm going to move on to you now. We're talking about education and the level of professionalism. Now, as the founder of a training centre that does regulated fit-for-purpose training, how do you successfully compete against these unregulated training centres that provide cheaper and often shorter courses?
I can't compete. I'm being
But that's the way, isn't
honest.
it? That is the way.
If I don't want to bore you, but there's certain people in this room that are very special to me that helped me. I came from a background of having a medical training company, and I acquired an aesthetic brand in 2019, and this was because of Diane Hay, who put me in touch with David Sines, and there is a very special lady called Sally Durant that had worked with Leslie and BABTAC, and from about 2014 they had developed the first qualifications in aesthetics. And without certain people in this room, I couldn't run my business because that wasn't my background. And with having the medical training company, the doctors in this room, what they have to do, it was a shock to me to see how little the non-medics have to be regulated. It was a very, very big learning curve, because you all know these days you can go on short courses and you can get insured, which is maybe one of the problems. And I'm not saying that a lot of those courses aren't good, but sometimes you're going on one day course, even half a day course.
Online.
And sometimes, but you don't have to have any background. So the brand that I acquired, which Leslie and BABTAC standards were so vast with this lady, it would take 9 to 12 months to do anatomy and physiology, to do an electrical science, to do the cosmetic standard route, to be able with BABTAC to do the level 4, and they would have had to do level 2 facial. And that meant even if they were a doctor, if they haven't really touched skin, they have to start at level 2 and do facials. Okay, so what happens is these poor people, and I mean that quite seriously, they've spent their life savings, they've gone off and done these courses, and they look all shiny. Oh, you don't have to have any background popping or do your dermaplaning, your peels, your microneedles, and
You get
work.
insurance.
What then happens is, I've met many people in this room through what happens. So then Lorna will contact me, and Lorna has a company called Aesthetic Source, and they supply things like chemical peels. So they will go to her and she'll say, I don't think so.
Nice try.
What you've given me here, I cannot sell you and train you in our product range. It's not possible. And with her nursing background, she knows what she's looking for. So over the years, we've established a very strong relationship. I will recommend her because I know that she's here to try and protect you all. Talking about laser, my medical director, Sam, who is there, his background is as an eye surgeon, and he specialises in laser. So any of our laser courses, he's the guy that sets the protocols, sorts all the training out. If anybody's got a problem, we go to him. If there was something because of Lorna's nursing background, I'd go to him. Ross, where are you from? Clinicept. In lockdown, when we were looking at infection control, I went to Ross and said, help me. So I'm kind of surrounded by people here that I could not run my business without the professional people. We've got Alison from Facetics, who she contacted me and said, can I partner with you and can we teach your courses? Because I know if we do that, we're going to get this exceptional learning. One of the missing links for the microneedling has been finding a device that isn't from China. Oh my goodness, through Lorna, we've been put in touch with this lovely chap here called Dr. Andrew Christie, who wrote all the protocols for dermapen. So we're just taking that brand on because I can give you a guarantee with all of these people and with Andrew where things are made, where the products come from, that the training will be exceptional. So we've even had Kim in meeting these people. So because she is an examiner for BABTAC, I will say to Leslie, invite your team in, come see what we're doing. Are we on the right wavelength here? Is there something we're missing? Can you help me? So if I'm not sure with my training company, I go to all of these professionals. Another lady that I must mention from Opatra, Lottie, where are you? Lottie? Lottie, are you here? So she approached me and she said, we sell our devices. We're not sure about the correct levels of training and insurance. Can you guys take that side over? So we're just with Leslie looking at endorsing their courses as we are with yours, just to make sure that any gaps that I don't know or what she feels with all of these people, it is the right thing. That I just wish more training companies would come to you
that's what I was just going to
and
say.
say, get some advice.
I think what you
does
show
that make
is that there are
sense?
people that are
Yes.
prepared to work together for an ethical
Yes.
outcome.
But that costs
It's
money.
Yeah.
But it costs money, and your courses are, do cost money, and they are harder, and
Yes.
they
Yeah.
do take longer. So I think the issue here, and it shouldn't be an issue, but it is an issue, is that you are competing with 1 day, 2 day short
can't.
courses.
No.
And unfortunately, some of those people, I mean, we're talking about an industry that went through such a rough time, are trying to upskill, are trying to do the right thing,
Yes.
and in many cases are looking at a course that looks legitimate.
Yeah.
And they're taking that course for less
And it's
time,
still
less
thousands of
money.
pounds,
Still
though.
thousands of pounds,
Yeah.
but less money.
I mean,
And then they are not qualified to the extent that they
No.
should be. And I mean,
No.
that's
okay. And when I acquired that brand, oh my gosh, there were several, like 1,000 people who were on program that had been training for in excess of 3 years and had paid this indulgent amount of money, knowing it was probably going to take them 5 years, and some are still on program. And if you don't mind me saying, one of those was Deja, who had put a lot of investment and money in and just wanted to do, oh my gosh, years of study to get the finest qualification. But I get confused if somebody says to me, that's a qualification. What does that mean? Does it have to be regulated? Does it have to be Ofquat? I don't know. So what I do with my company, David signs the JCCP, the CPSA, the guidelines that they've got there for my own training company, that's what I follow. So they're saying with microneedling at level 4, we only want it at 0.5 on the face, level 5.1, etc. I only teach that, and then people will ring and say, but I can go down the road and they'll teach me in half a day to do this device at 2.5. And I'll say, well, you need to go there because I'm not going to compromise your safety. So quite often I'm losing business because they want this quick course, and I won't give them that.
It's not a level playing field. I think
No,
that's what
no,
we're trying
yes.
to say. Isn't
I think
it?
that we have to
Yeah.
recognise that there will be some transition
Of
because
course.
people
Yes.
will
Yeah.
always want cheap,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so
And quick.
and quick, and it's
There's
that's
got
why
to-
we
there's
still
got-
have
there's got to be
McDonald's. We all know it's not good for you, but people still buy it, right? I know you mustn't do that, but you know it's that thing. So we have to recognise that there's a transition. But I think
Yes.
what we need to do
Yeah.
is perhaps if we can move everyone to more bona fide and ethical qualifications
And
the
raising
economies of
awareness of
scale
what to look
means
for.
that we can make
Yeah.
it less expensive
Yeah.
for
Of
people.
course.
So we can
I mean, look, ultimately, those people that have gone and spent their money and their life savings, and they genuinely thought they were doing a qualification that comes to me, I'm going to help them, regardless of money. I'm not going to leave them, and I don't. But
Yeah.
people need to know from the start,
They do.
this is
and
your option.
I think obviously the new Health and Care Act of 2022, and I think David Sines would be able to comment on this, and potentially we could get into afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, there is movement in the right direction, and we know that there is movement in the right direction in terms of some regulation coming in. But we know that that is a long-term journey, and you know, there's many things that need to fall into place for it to be able to work. So I think it's twofold. And I think that's my last question to the panel, if anyone would like to comment on it, is how do we get our members and the right people seeing this as a very positive campaign, getting the word out there, promoting it themselves, getting insurers. I mean, we're lucky that we work directly with our insurers. We're talking about insurers that don't do the right thing. You know, our insurance company do. We do our prerequisites. You know, how
personally, I think we need to all collectively try to get the consumers to vote with their feet. Because I
Yes.
think that
Well, I think that's the reason
really,
for this
that, yeah,
campaign,
that's like,
isn't it?
that is the most important thing.
it is vote with your
But
feet
Millie,
and
we've
also
been
promote.
involved with insurers that have said they're going to insure everything. And I think Millie and I were sitting like, what? That they've said if it's there, we will insure it. Because unfortunately, or fortunately for the industry, we want to make the industry a better place. That's definitely this world moment. You know, make it a better place, and we will take the hit financially for that, and we do on a daily basis. But I think from us, BABTAC, for the last number of years, we are kind of self-regulated. So for us, this is not going to affect any of our members because they are already an industry standard of qualification, training, standards, etc. And where this is going to really affect is only going to affect the ones that have got substandard training or no training.
Yeah.
So you know, I think that's really important. You know, we've got our insurers here today. We've got Helen, who heads up our insurance department. I do, as Caroline rightly said, the certificates with BABTAC. It is so frustrating the amount of times, and I do get very passionate about it. And when I see it, and I'm like, no, that, you know, and I really, I'm like, honestly, Sherlock Holmes investigating. I'm like, oh, really? Leave that with me. But you know, not everyone is like that. So it's just getting that awareness out there that's important.
But Leslie, the problem is somebody who isn't in the industry starting out, they don't know if it's good or bad.
But Candice, people in the
that's-
industry don't know either,
that's
which
the
is sad as well.
loss.
That's why it has to
That's
be
the problem.
internal and external.
Yeah,
That's
it
why
is,
yes.
we say
Yeah.
you need the
Yeah.
consumers asking the question, and you need the therapist shouting about their
I
qualifications.
do believe that the aesthetics regulation will start and
Yes,
will
yes.
will have a trickle down effect on
100%.
this. That we are, what, a year away? Something like that, maybe?
Yep.
2,
Probably
3,
Laura, okay.
Yeah.
Are we getting some inside information here,
Yeah.
Professor Simon?
Am I just being overly hopeful? But I mean, once that happens, which, you know, we all need support, we need to get that moving.
It's still the lower modalities where,
Yeah.
you know, the level 2 waxing, that's where you do get a lot of claims from insurance, waxing, lashes, all of these things. And this is where, and also from the modern slavery side of things as well, that, you know, we're all working on just now. It's just getting, if we've got, there is that industry standards there, it's going to make it a lot more difficult for these things to be going on in the background
Yeah,
as
sure.
well.
Yeah.
So, and that's really important from the kind of moral aspect of what we're all trying to do to make the industry a better place and for all of our consumers.
Yeah, and educating consumers on
100%.
ethical and
I think it's also
unqualified.
important that a lot of this information is filtered through from the grassroots. So therefore, when people leave school and they decide they're going to go into beauty therapy, they normally will go to a college first. So a lot of the qualifications we're talking about here are qualifications that you would get after you've, say, for example, decided to specialise in skin. So you would generally have a very generalist qualification of beauty therapy, like in my day I did NVQ level 2. And I think that's where some of these standards that we're talking about now really need to be filtered down to, so that as a therapist, if you were coming up now, you do level 2, but you already know that, well, there's regulations, that's part of your life, that's part of your regulation. Say, for example, for me, when I really wanted to focus on black skin, I didn't come up through college with that information. I had to go and find that out myself. So I guess my point is, everything we're talking about now also needs to be filtered through to the local colleges who provide the NVQ level 2s and all that, because that then embeds it in the 16-year-old coming up to say, well, I actually do need these things. I need to be able to get this type of insurance and blah, blah, blah. So because you talk, we are paid up members already, but the people coming up in the industry have no clue, and those are the ones who need guidance as to what's a dodgy qualification and what's a real qualification.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if no one else has anything else to say.
Oh, we've got loads to say.
They will have loads to say and can chat to you afterwards about anything.